What up, y'all? Appreciate you showing up, hanging out. This is my demand. Like and subscribe. So, I watched the state of play that Sony put out yesterday. Today's the day after yesterday. And, so, here's the thing before I tear it to shreds. No, I'm just kidding. Before I say anything about it, the thing that you have to understand about the pony donkey unicorns is that they are struggling right now. Any good news is going to be amplified to be the best news ever. So you'll see Sony won, or this is great, or right? You know what it felt like? First, they said, yeah, a bunch of our Japanese partners, and then special surprises or whatever they said, paraphrasing. And I was like, all right, sure, that makes sense. Sony, Japanese company, right? And I saw the games and I was like, okay, Project Eve, which is called something else now, and I'm like, okay, and then it's a bunch of other stuff, and I'm like, sure, they all look the same. I don't know what it is about Japanese developers. It's not a bad thing, but FromSoft broke out and they said, yo, I mean, they've been doing that type of game. FromSoft has been doing that Souls-like game ever since Itoji. Itoji was the prototype. Itoji was the first one. It's not as good as Dark Souls, obviously, or Bloodborne and all those, but that was the foundation that all these Souls-born games live. And now everyone, all these devs are seeing, oh, Elden Ring could be game of the it will be game of the year this year, I will say, because I think God of War is coming out too late for the Keeleys anyway. So I'm like, wow, all these devs are seeing the success in that formula, that genre per se, the open world Souls-like genre. That was the one thing that was missing from all of those Souls games, is the open world, and that's what brought it. That's what put it over the edge. That's what made Elden Ring the better game. Anyway, every other game's doing this now. Lies of P, freaking Project Eve, whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called. The font was so crazy. I was like, does that say battle or lit? I don't know what that says. It wasn't the best font or treatment of a title. But anyway, that's nitpicky. That doesn't matter. That has no bearing on the quality of the game. Is the game going to be good? It's going to be one of those games. It was a lot of one of those games. So I could be like, yeah, all of that was mid. Then they got to the God of War Ragnarok at the end, right? So I'm like, okay, let's see what they got. I think they have a format for doing these games, right? So remember the first game, the first trailer, how they showed it off. They showed all fighting a troll, right? And then at one point you see the big world serpent dude, right? He's like, and that was like the old snap moment, right? The same thing in this trailer. He's fighting fools. He's boom, 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 and then you see the big jellyfish fly up in the sky. Oh, you have to have a big giant creature moment. That's what that is. And then sparring off with Thor, the end. And I'm like, all right, that's good. That's what it should be. It should be God of War the sequel. My thing is that it loses its impact because we already know the tricks. God of War 2018 was solely unique in that it was the first game to do what it did. Now you have a game that's doing all those things again. So you have to rely on better story, better gameplay, better mechanics, better environments, better, enemy design. Everything else has to be better, which should be, yes. But the one thing that made God of War stand out was that one shot, was the cinematic, how they did the cinematics. As far as the acting, I don't hate Christopher Judge. That's his name, right? Freaking Teal'c from Stargate. I don't hate him. He's cool. But the kid though, I mean, I know he was kind of cringy in the first game. So I've heard, and from what I've gleaned from watching, the clips, I'm like, okay, well, he's a kid, whatever, that's his job. And I'm hearing him now, and I'm like, he's older, he's a little bigger. I'm like, And I saw in the comments like, that Atreus is cringe, more cringe than the first game. I was like, that's kind of true. So, yes, God of War Ragnarok will be a good game. Will be great, probably even. Will it be better than the first game? I will hope so. I mean, for their sake. I don't see why it wouldn't be, but I could kind of feel what it's gonna be, and it's the gods that they mentioned in the trailers, the gods that Kratos has killed along the years. The ones that are still left, the Norse gods, are like, yo, who are you? You're the god slayer. How, you're not the hero. What's going on here? They're trying to make Kratos out as the bad guy, which he kind of is, kind of sorta. Think about it. So I mean, in that respect, it's interesting. It's an interesting kind of concept as far as story goes, and ultimately, I mean, Kratos got to die, right? Because he killed so many gods. Although the whole false gods, or gods that aren't really good gods, if that makes sense. I watched Thor: Love and Thunder recently, and that they tackle that with Zeus and Thor and stuff. So yeah, and I mean that's I think that's the basis of the whole God of War series anyway, is that Kratos is angry too, so yeah, I can relate. But yeah, it was cool. I give it a B, I guess. I'll give it a B because God of War made it better at the end, but everything else was like C++, kind of B, but not really. There was a game that was that had a 2024 date on it. It was from Team Ninja, and I was looking at it. I was like, it's kind of like a Ghost of Tsushima, but by Team Ninja. It's not the one that's coming out on Xbox. It's another one. I was like, 2024. And I saw in the comments, it was like 2024, and it looks like that. And I was like, yeah, that's true. It didn't look like a next-gen game. So I'm like, what are they doing? I mean, some games look good. Some of the Japanese games look good, obviously, depending on the studio, but some do not. And I'm like, are they literally making PlayStation 4 games and just like upscaling, like I said, they've been doing for this whole generation? So, but then they say, oh, it's exclusive for PlayStation 5, and it's like, it doesn't look like it. So I don't know, man. It's I feel like Sony is all over the place. They show this, and there's a bunch of games, and that's cool. And a lot of them are forgettable. The only reason why I remember Project Eve is because they showed it before, and it was a standalone because it was only that type of game. But now there's so many of those Souls-likes that it's like, it's crazy. It's like, everybody's coming out with it. Like, which one is going to be the best? Like the Last Descendant. It's not a Souls-like. It's more of a Anthem but you're running or something. That's a bad example because Anthem wasn't the best game. It wasn't the worst game either mechanically, but it was, whatever. It had its problems. But I saw that. I'm looking at The Last Descendant. I think that's what it's called. Or The First Descendant. I can't remember. And I was like, yo, that looks all right. I mean, that looks like better than all them other games, the Japanese games that meld all into one big ball of Japanese games. I mean, that's the style. If you think about it, it's like, okay, what's an American game, right? That's kind of like what Bethesda does, the RPGs, open world RPGs, right? I think. I mean, are there that many open world Japanese games? I mean, there are some. Breath of the Wild, that's Nintendo's joint. Elden Ring was FromSoft's first joint. And what else? I mean, there's some phone stuff like Genshin Impact. Does that? Does an MMO count? I'm gonna say no, because MMO is like definitely a distinct genre from like an open world single player RPG, which is the Elder Scrolls and Fallouts and all that stuff. So let's have those two distinctions. Spider-Man is open world, but it's an IP. It's an American IP. So, and Insomniac is not a Japanese studio. So no, even though Sony is a Japanese company, the parent company is Japanese, that doesn't count. See how we're doing this? We're doing this by studio and by IP as well. Well, I mean, yeah, maybe we can remember with that, but I'm just saying, you know, we got to look at why all these games are looking the same. Well, I mean, one reason I know why is because they see the success that a Final Fantasy game has. I'm not saying that it's something that they're gonna make a RPG, whatever. But if you look at the art styles, all the character designs look similar to what Square Enix is doing and has been doing for years. But you know, everybody's catching up, whatever. So it's all good. I mean, it was an interesting show. It was cool. I kind of do not like the duality. Is that right? Duality of how Sony is acting, what Jim Ryan is saying, and how they put these shows up. And they have the pleasant lady talking. Oh boy, this is the state of play. Oh, you guys are gonna love it. Okay, she's not, you know, Aunt Jemima, but I'm just saying, she's a pleasant sounding lady. And she's like, wow, that sounds like they care about the gamers. They don't care about the gamers. It's such a, oh man, it's such a, like a, I don't know what it is. But anyway, I appreciate you guys hanging out, listen to my dumb ass. You know what I'm saying? It's morning edition. It's early, so whatever. I figured I'd spit one out. Maybe I'll do a little bit more in depth, specifically about certain games and stuff. But go in the comments. Let me know what y'all think about, what y'all thought about the state of play. Is God of War really all of that? It's cool, like I said, but is it like the next thing? Is it the same old snap that the first one gave, or is it just like a little bit? It's God of War, better be. So let me know what y'all think. I appreciate y'all hanging out, and I'll see y'all next time.